Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you are feeling well today. We have already done our first 3 chapters. Now we're going to start chapter number 4. In the previous chapter, in the last week, we have read about the reasons for the declination of the Indus Valley civilization, and there's also one point about the invasion of the Aryan people. So today we are going to read about the Aryan people and who were they. The objectives of the lesson. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to recall the main points of the previous chapter, describe the origin of the Arya people and the meaning of Arya, analyze creation of the caste system by the Aryans based on their way of life and professions, explain how the Aryans laid the foundation of Hinduism. The resources that we're going to use are the images, YouTube videos, and textbook page number 16, 17, 18. On page number 16, 17, 18, you will find all the content that we are going to cover today. Now let's recap. Let's have a little bit flashback of the Indus Valley civilization. In the previous chapter, we have read that the Indus Valley civilization was a city civilization. And the people of this civilization were agriculturists, as well as they were industrialized and commercialized. The Indus Valley people made use of only copper and probably bronze as well for making tools. The Indus Valley people buried their dead. The script of the Indus Valley people was merely phonetic and yet undeciphered. The topics which we are going to cover today are the introduction, in which we are going to do the origin of the Arya people and the meaning of Arya. Then the Aryans fight the DASAS. Who the Aryans defeated? DASAS. Sorry, it's DASAS. And where they first settled? They were settled in Punjab. The making of the caste system. Now the Aryans or the Indians, they were actually very much famous for their caste system. And they have a proper hierarchy of the caste system. And according to that caste system, they used to treat the people. So we are going to read about the creation of the caste system by the Aryans based on their way of life and professions. And last, in this week, we are going to do the foundation of the Hindu religion, because Aryans, they used to follow the religion of Hinduism. So how they had that foundation, how many gods they had, were they used to follow one god or they used to follow many gods. So we are going to read about it. So now let's start with the introduction. Well, the Harappan civilization, as we have read, that they could not survive because of the climatic changes. And according to a few historians, there was a kind of belief that maybe they were actually invaded or attacked by a civilization who are actually nomadic. Nomadic means the people who do not have any fixed home, who used to move from one place to another. And they were pastoral peoples who came from northwest in search of grazing land for their cattle. So they settled in Indian subcontinent between 1500 and 2000 BCE. These people used to call themselves Arya, and they used to speak a language known as Indo-Europeans. And the second meaning of Arya is a noble of birth and race. So they consider themselves very noble, and they have a high rank. Now, when they first came over there, they had to fight a few people. They had to fight a few nation or the few group of people who were living over there. They were known as DASAS. It is generally believed that the Aryan came to India in groups that settled in the area of the northwestern province in Pakistan and Punjab, which they then named Sub-Sindhu, or the land of 7 rivers, mainly the Indus, the SUDRAS, the Ravi, the Vyas, the Chenab, the Jhelum, and Saraswati. So there was a kind of the belief that when Aryan came over there, they settled on the northwestern province, that is Punjab. And the area where they settled, they used to call, not right now, we're talking about the past, that they used to call the area the Sub-Sindhu, and which means the land of the 7 rivers. Now, what were the 7 rivers? Those were the Indus, the Sutlej, the Ravi, the Vyas, the Chenab, Jhelum, and Saraswati. Few of the rivers, they are now in the part of the India, and now you can recognize the names like Chenab, Sutlej, and Ravi. They are still in the Indus. They are still the part of Pakistan. And here we are seeing the Indus. So you must recognize that the Indus is the same river where the Indus Valley civilization lies. The Aryans had still to contend with the indigenous people of the northern India who were of non-Aryan origin. The enemies were described by Aryans as Panis and Dasas. So there were people already living over there, and the Aryans, they were not happy. So they had a war, a battle with them, and they defeated them. Now the reason that they attacked Dasas, or they hated Dasas, was that they used to steal, and they were actually thieves. They used to steal their cattle and their wealth. And the fight with the Dasas were more prolonged as they were well settled in the land. The Dasas were defeated in fear for the fact that the word Dasa later came to be mean as a slave. So in Hindu language, Dasa means slave. So that word was actually originated from the word dasas, because after when they lost the battle, the dasas, they were actually were taken as a slaves. They were always considered inferior because of their darker skin and flat features as compared to the Aryans. Now here you can see the difference. This is Aryans versus dasas. Like we have already talked about, that the Aryans, they were taller and lighter and have a lighter skin color. You can see this. While the Dasas were shorter and darker. The language that Aryans used to speak were Indo-Europeans, while the Dasas, usually their languages were in the written form. The lifestyle, well, like I have already told you, the Aryans, they were pastorals, so they had the wealth as well as cows and the cattle, while Dasas, they were the farmers and the towns and the dwellers. God, Aryans used to follow Indra and Agni, that is the name of their gods, while Dasas used to follow Shiva, mother of goddesses. Now let's come to Vedas. Vedas actually is still the religious book, a sacred book. Like Hindus have the Bibles, Christians have the Bibles, and the Muslims, we follow Quran. Similarly, they have their 4 sacred books. So the Vedas are the oldest sacred books of Hinduism. Indian culture begins with the Vedas. They were probably composed beginning about 1400 BC. The Vedas were a series of sacred texts used in religious rituals and sacrifices and composed in early form of Sanskrit. Even in modern times, Vedas are regarded as the cornerstone of Hinduism. The Vedas include the basis of the doctrine concerning Hindu divinities. They also present philosophical ideas about the nature of Brahmins, Hinduism's supreme divine beings. The word Veda comes from the root Ved, which means knowledge. So this book has a very strong impact on the religion of Hinduism, because this book contains all the knowledge and all the lifestyle and all the beliefs of the Hinduism. So usually this book consists of 4 collections. One is Rich Vedas, other is Sam Vedas, third is Yajur, and the 4th is Atharva. So every book has a different content from the other book. Now, earlier I told you about the caste system, that the Indians, they were a big follower of the caste system. So how they used to differentiate themselves, how they have divided the people according to their caste, here we come to know. The city culture of Harappans were replaced by the village culture that was organized into political as well as social system. The Vedas tells us that the Aryans were the tribal people with a king or chief or as their leader. Now, in the previous chapter, we have read that the Indus Valley civilization people were very modern, and usually they have a city system because they have the proper plannings of the roads, the buildings, and there was a great bath. Similarly, as compared to the Harappan people, the Aryan peoples, they had a village culture. So they had a king or a chief as their leader, and in their Vedas, the rich Vedic period, they used to divide the society into four classes. The first class was the Brahmins, which is the highest one. Then come the Kashtriyas, then come Vaishyas, then come Shudras, and the last one were the outcasts. Now, the top caste was the Brahmins. The top caste was made up of scholars, priests, teachers, judges, and landowners. They were known as a Brahmin caste or the Brahmins. Many Brahmins lived in temples removed from society. Others spent a great time in contemplation and meditation. Some were quite social. So this was actually the highest top caste, and they uh, did not meet with the other castes that much because they considered themselves near to their gods. So they used to spend their time in thinking, in meditation. Then come the Kashtriya. The Kashtriya were the warriors, the rulers of the towns, the cities, and mostly came from the Kashtriya caste. Any decision they made, however, could be overruled by a member of the Brahmin, the caste above them. So here you can say this is actually the army of the Arya. The group of these people used to fight in the battles. But if they made any kind of decision, their decision could be changed by the Brahmins because Brahmin was obviously the top caste. Then come the Vaishyas. Vaishyas were the skilled farmers and the merchants and the craftsmen. Vaishyas could hold office in the village government. They might live in very nice houses. Even though they were three down on the social scale, they still had good clothes and ample food. They might not be the top leaders, but they were certainly a respected part of society. So here we can say Vaishyas were the traders. So they had a big part in the society. And then come the bottom caste, the Shudras. The Shudras are the unskilled workers. They might find a job on a farm or a non-skilled job in a house or a business like cleaning. They were the bottom caste. So here we can call Shudras as the bottom caste because they used to serve as a slave in someone else's house and they do not carry any kind of particular skill. Now, the last one is the untouchables. The people without any caste are actually the untouchables, and they were the people who considered in the lowest society of Hindu India. So they were not a part of the caste system. They had no rights. If they had a job at all, other than begging, it was a degrading job that no one else wanted to do. Well, if your parents are untouchable, it means that you will remain as untouchable. And an untouchable could not marry anyone from the social rank. So let's come to the livelihood of the Aryans, that what they used to do, what were their professions and how they used to survive. So the livelihood of the Aryans was based on the rearing and the keeping of the animals because as I told you, there were the pastoral people, such as the cows and the horses. Cattle was the main source of their wealth and they rode horses, which were also used to pull their chariots. Agriculture was another important source of livelihood. Hunting was popular using the bow and the arrow and snares and the traps. Artisans practiced their crafts and people live according to their profession. So their livelihood, I don't think so it's that much different from the livelihood of the Indus Valley civilization. So we have the source of their livelihood is the cattle. They used to hunt, agriculture obviously. They used to do the fishing and the art. The foundation of Hinduism. The foundation of the Hindu religion was actually made by the Aryans. They actually were the one who laid the foundation. Aryans used to believe on many gods, and they think that by worshipping those gods, they'll be able to have good rain, fertile cultivation, and good harvest. The early Aryans worshipped phenomena of nature in the form of nature god. These forces of nature were worshipped as male and female gods. So Aryans have male gods as well as female gods. Well, if we just talk about the Aryans, they used to have Indra. So Indra was actually the Aryan Superman, the god of strength, foremost in battle, always ready to kill dragons and demons and to destroy cities. He was the god of thunder, the rainmaker, and the victor over the forces which Aryans could not vanquish. Then come Agni. Agni, the god of fire, received many beautiful tributes. He dominated the domestic fireplace, and marriages were solemnized in the presence of fire, as they are to this day in Hindu rites. Fire was the purest of the five elements and was held in a high esteem. Then the next god is Varuna, which was actually the god of the water and which was a sustainer of the plant and animal life. It was the responsibility of this god to uphold the nature order. Then come Yama. Yama was the god of death and it has a prominent place. Then come Vayu or Vavu. It was the god of winds. Then Prithvi, the god of earth, and Ushna, the god of dawn. So all these gods, they represent a kind of nature and were the manifestation of one of supreme gods, who is the creator, preserver, and destroyer of the universe. The god has to be pleased with sacrifice, and this practice was common in those times. The priest had great influence with the people as it was they who carry out the sacrifices. The priestly class came to be known as Brahmins, as I have already told you. Most of the information about the Aryans come from the oral and the written accounts of the Brahmin priests. These writings are commentaries on the Vedas, as came to be called Brahmins. So the Brahmins which they used to write down the book was actually the Brahmins. When the Aryans moved further east and started to settle in the valley between Jamna and Ganga river, two epic points were added to Brahmins. So the Brahmins had a had a collection of the stories, you can say folk stories, and poems about their god and goddesses. For instance, the Ramayana and Mahabharata are the stories of the exploit of the kings and rajas as they fought and conquered people in their new land. The poem tells us a great deal about the life, customs, and the beliefs of the Aryans. Later, Upanishads, which tells us about the philosophical foundation of Hinduism, became sacred texts and are considered the religious book of Hindus. That's all for today. And let's have a recap. We have read about the Arya. We have read about the Dasas, which were actually the slaves. We have read about the Vedas, their sacred book, which consists of 4 collections. And then we have read about the caste system, that mainly they have divided their society into 4 classes. And the top class is the Brahmin. Next is Kshatriyas. The 3rd class is the Vaishyas. And the 4th class is the Sudras. And the 5th class, which is not actually considered as a class, they are known as untouchable. Then we have read about discussed about the livelihood. So the livelihood of the people were through the agriculture. They were the good hunters, they were the fishermen, they love art, they were the artisans as well. And the foundation of the Hinduism was actually laid by the Aryans, and they used to follow many gods, which depends upon the nature. They have a god of rain, god of fire, they have a god of wind, and so on. So the written task for this week is, who are the Arya people? Where did they come from? How were they different from the Indus Valley people? What was the main occupation of the Aryans? How did the Aryans look down upon the Dasas? How do we know about the life of Aryans? Thank you so much.